from the sublime to the ridiculous, from the amateur to the absolute professional, and a topic that I obviously don't really get upset about when people bring it up. Ladies, oh God. How do you solve a drunkard like Maria? Ladies and gentlemen, Maria Bartiromo. China runs secret police stations in the U.S. Christopher Wray. Okay. This has been a story that's been going on for a while. The Chinese government has been running these like private police stations in a lot of other countries. Norway, Finland, UK, they're starting to run them out, basically. Let's get over 300 Chinese spies have been broomed from European countries in the last 6 months. Now, one would think, considering the story around the Biden laptop, the Hunter Biden laptop, that supposedly China has Joe Biden in their pocket. They've got control of the man. They've got compromising photos of his son that we've all seen of him smoking in a bathtub, dear God. And napping while smoking crack, which, I mean, the man must have like the worst somnia I've ever seen. But the Chinese government has been putting these secret police stations in. Now, these police stations are under the guise of foreigners, Chinese people who are living in the United States and other countries, going to school and that kind of stuff, have to keep up their driver's licenses and that kind of, so it's really just kind of a DMV thing. And the way their legal system works, they just kind of need this. It's a whole bullshit story. But we're driving them out. Now, the story would be, if you're keeping with the myth that they've been pushing, is that these things started after Biden got in office. Instead of these things were there all during Trump, and the Biden administration is getting rid of them. One would think if Biden was under the thumb of China, they would have some sort of protected status, would they not? All right, here we go. This is Biden administration has been, quote, very weak on China. Rep. Hearn. Not to be confused with Heen. All right.
Yeah, that was Florida Senator Rick Scott questioning FBI director.
Okay, asshole. You can't play a clip and go, yeah, that was a clip, and not show me the clip. Who cuts these? I'm not going to go hunt that down. Are you nuts? I didn't cut the clip out of this person clamoring. You started it. Start off with the clip. What is there, a time fucking limit?
Director Christopher Wray last week, Wray confirming the Chinese Communist Party has secret police stations in the United States so they can monitor, harass, even blackmail those who are critical of the Xi Jinping regime. Joining me right now is Oklahoma Congressman Kevin Hearn. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. We talk a lot about the CCP on this program.
Yeah, and never get anywhere.
And I've been raising the alarm on these police stations. Your thoughts on the fact that the CCP has a police station in New York?
Not anymore.
Maria, it's great to be with you. First of all, I think we all have to recognize China is our greatest threat, and we've got to start acting like it.
We are.
If you go all the way back to Eric Swalwell and what the Democrats have allowed to happen with him.
What did they allowed the FBI to warn him about somebody who was trying to get close to his campaign as a campaign bundler, and he told her to go pound sand, and the Chinese flew her back to China, and she hasn't been heard from since? That part?
Having an affair with a known spy, the refusal to allow us to. Again,
the affair part is, insofar as I know, alleged.
Look at Hunter Biden and China relationships over the last 2 years, which we will do starting in.
Wait, Hunter Biden and China and their relation over the last 2 years? Hunter Biden hasn't worked with Rosemont Seneca since 2019?
January, and seeing the connection to the Biden administration.
There is none.
What it's done to this country.
You mean the infrastructure bill? Yes, I will say it is true. The Biden administration does have a connection to this country.
And now we see the Secretary of Homeland Security and the DOJ and the FBI
under Joe Biden
acknowledging that they know these police stations exist.
And how long have they been here?
But for national security purposes, they can't talk about it. And then when you go and actually talk to the Chinese about it, they say, oh, no, they're not police stations. They're to help our citizens with their driver's license.
Right. We know the backstory on this.
Yet they won't tell us where they are. So it's really suspicious. China is a bad actor, and we have to start doing something about it.
Well, if they don't tell you where they are, then they don't exist as primary places. Like it's the ones in the other countries were literally called stations, like China Station or whatever. They had like a, it's in the wording on the outside, if you can read Chinese, was basically said Chinese police, Jingcha, Jingcha Chang. Like they had a literally like a police place.
About it.
Well, I mean, you touched on a number of really important issues there because
yeah, it did.
You're right. Christopher Wray keeps telling us that the CCP is the biggest threat to America. The CCP is our biggest adversary. But what are they doing about it?
What are they doing? Here's a question. What is the new Republican majority going to do about it? Are they going to introduce a bill that makes it a violation of our national sovereignty for any country to have a police force or police without permission, obviously, because we work with people all the time when they're trying to track fugitives and shit like that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have lovely movies like Rush Hour or Black Rain.
You've got spies everywhere you look here.
At Fox?
Right, Eric Swalwell and Fang. You've got Hunter Biden and his secretary. I mean, they have...
His secretary? What? All right, that's just... let's just say that's just made up. What the fuck is with his secretary? What does his secretary have to do with this? I have a secretary, and she is dynamite.
Infiltrated virtually every industry in this country.
Yes. Apparently... 2 places.
As Mike Pompeo has said to me many times, the CCP is now inside the gates. So what do
Yeah, thanks to the Trump administration.
we do about it at this point? And do we have a president that is compromised and unwilling to actually hold the CCP to account?
Are you fucking kidding me? Hold on. Can I show you guys one thing real quick? This is like an example. I tweeted this video out, but I just want to show you guys something real quick. Just the title of this, I think, says everything. Where you go? To watch list and history. Go back to this thing. Doobie-doo. Yeah. Here you go. Let's see if I can go this. Hold on. This is a video by John Coogan. This is 3 days ago. Let me show you something. This title is America Just Killed China's Tech Industry.
America and China are officially at war.
Which is what would happen if your president was under the thumb of China, because this is what they want.
At least
I don't know who's using a Spitfire, but
economically speaking.
人民子弟兵永远是保卫祖国的钢铁。
For the last few decades, China has been waging a covert economic war through state-sponsored hacking, corporate espionage, and market restrictions. The United States is now responding with a huge set of policies aimed at keeping China out of the market for semiconductors, telecommunications equipment, optics, and artificial intelligence.
yeah, I tweeted that out, that article out, or that video out on my Twitter. Just for the record, there is nothing about the CHIPS Act and the denial of not only the usage of high quality chips from the Taiwan semiconductor companies or from our own Intel, NVIDIA, and others, but the fabrication machines themselves. Yeah, we're dumping that shit. We're dumping their access to it. They can't use any of it. If we were in the position where Biden was compromised by China, they would have greater access, not less.
You know, one thing the Biden administration did when they first came into office, and when you talk to them privately, as we did on Ways and Means and other classified briefings, is that
Yes, tell us what happened in classified briefings with the Ways and Means Committee.
they understood the importance of what President Trump did in going after China. No president had ever done what he did in going and directly confronting them on the issues they have and dealing with us in America.
Yeah, as long as they didn't eat into Ivanka's profits and her trademarks that she got.
And the Biden administration has been very weak on follow-up to that.
Really? Okay, hold on. One more second. I got to pull this page. Give me this guy. Drag this down here. Hold on. U.S. curbs on microchips could throttle China's ambitions and escalate tech war. Let's just jump through back here. Let's see. U.S. export restrictions of powerful chips to China hurt now, which should prove bullish long term. Ken Griffin warns U.S. faces immediate Great Depression if China seizes what? Taiwan semiconductor tech industry. Yeah, it won't happen. But, you know, these are the things that if your president, you know, like, it's not like he said we're going to defend Taiwan. Here you go. This is the Carnegie Endowment. Biden's unprecedented semiconductor bet. Why the U.S. cut China off from advanced chips. How Biden short circuits China. Like, this isn't even a question. The Atlantic. Why Biden's block on chips to China is a big deal. Like, this isn't one of those, like, we're shaving a little bit off here and there. There needs to be a fact check sound effect or graphic that flashes across the screen every time Hal has to school someone's ass. That'd be nice. It's not a bad idea. Like, fact check. Like the moron you know moment, you know? Hold on, let me see it. Like, let's see. Fact check. The moron you know. So, yeah. Opinion. How China is fighting the chip war with America. By losing. That's how. U.S. tries to enlist allies in assault on China's chip industry, which is what you would do if you were completely on the take. I can't do Financial Times because it'll steal it. U.S. export restrictions of powerful chips to China hurt now. Okay, we looked at that one. What do U.S. curbs on selling microchips to China mean for the market? Clamp down on China exports the most consequential. Here you go. This is a conversation. Consequential U.S. move against China yet. I don't think people understand the enormity of the fuck you to China that the CHIPS Act alone was. That's why it was bipartisan. It's why it passed as easily as it did. Anyways, you think this douchebag has any idea about it? By the way, have you seen the price of oil? What'd I say?
Even Kevin McCarthy, our soon-to-be Speaker of the House,
even as somebody as dumb as him,
everything continues to move in the way it's going, has asked Speaker Pelosi 2 years ago about putting in place a select committee on China, and she refused to do it. He tried to get a bipartisan committee to get, this should be a bipartisan issue. This should be.
It is, dummy.
Democrats caring about the sovereignty of our nation and what China's doing. And so.
By the way, he's on House Ways and Means. He knows what he's saying is a lie. He knows, Kevin Hearn, Republican of Oklahoma, knows he is full of shit as he's saying this.
Kevin McCarthy has said that in January, we'll set up a select committee on China to investigate all of these tentacles of
what he means is COVID.
China is doing inside of our borders.
Yeah, he joined me yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures, and he talked about his China Select Committee that he is putting together. Todd Pyro, jump in here. One of the issues here is donations. Companies that have a big China exposure are big donors to the Democrats.
You mean giant tech companies with a lot of revenue and a lot of workers in the United States and that are stampeding out of China right now? Hey, anybody know where the AirPods are now going to be made? Yeah. Anybody? Hold on. Can I show you? Let's see if I can find the news on it. News. Quit. There you go. Vietnam is luring tech giants out of China with flashy infrastructure projects. Even as Apple and others move suppliers in, the boom has its skeptics. Yeah, people who are invested heavily in China. By Lam Le, right? Hanoi, Vietnam. By the way, you guys know that? Hold on. Do you guys know about the 1979 Sino-Vietnamese War? Do you know that China attacked Vietnam in 1979? Most people, you guys. You guys know about that? By the way, the Vietnamese kicked China's ass, drove them out. It was enormous. Part of the reason is because the Vietnamese had cut their teeth on fighting the Americans for so long, they were just more ready for it. But there's a lot of like anti-China stuff in Vietnam because of it. Yeah, here it goes. Let's see. Historically, China had previously given Hanoi steadfast support against U.S. forces in Vietnam, but their comradeship swiftly began to deteriorate in the mid-'70s, especially when Vietnam joined the Soviet-dominated Council for Mutual Economic Cooperation, Comecon, and signed the Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation with the Soviet Union, then China's greatest rival. In 1978, China called the treaty a military alliance and branded Vietnam the Cuba of the East, pursuing hegemonistic imperial dreams in Southeast Asia. In December 1978, Vietnam began a full-scale counterattack against Kampuchea, today's Cambodia, whose armed forces had launched a number of unilateral clashes across the Cambodian Vietnamese land and maritime borders between 75 and 77, leaving more than 30,000 Vietnamese civilians dead. Vietnam's incursion into China-friendly Cambodia, which quickly eradicated the genocidal pro-Beijing Khmer Rouge regime, coupled with its intimacy with the Soviet Union, was massively building up forces in the northern border, appeared to threaten China's security and interests in the region. Thus, China's leader at the time, Deng Xiaoping, had good reason to urge the government to teach a proper lesson to the Vietnamese. It's worth noting that even prior to the war proper, incidents along the Sino-Vietnamese border had increased in frequency and violence since the mid-1978 when Deng came to power and began consolidating his paramount leadership by creating an effective tripod: control of the state, the Communist Party, and control of the military. Deng had seen off the rival threat posed by ultra-Maoist Gang of Four, headed by Mao's fourth wife, Jiang Qing, and his well-reasoned strategy to modernize China required the removal of obstructionist Maoist Liberation Army cadres. They would fight back later on. August 25th, 1978, Chinese troops crossed the border into Vietnam to assault officers, women, and local people. Le Din Chin, a local policeman, fought back with his bare hands and was stabbed to death by a group of Chinese soldiers. Chin is thus known as the first Vietnamese soldier who fell in Vietnam's fight against the Chinese invasion. This incident set an ominous signal of looming armed conflict between the two brothers. I don't know where the brothers thing comes from. Totally different ethnicities, totally different languages, but okay. After a few months of serious, that's like saying, the Germans and the Poles, the brothers, why were these brothers fighting? After Germany invaded Poland, why, brothers, will you not settle down? After a few months of serious and careful preparation for a military ground campaign against Vietnam, in the pre-dawn hours of February 17th, Chinese spearheads, supported by 400 tanks and 1,500 artillery pieces, concurrently attacked in the direction of Vietnam's border provincial capitals when residents living there were still sleeping. Owing to its large population, huge disparity in economic and military capacity vis-a-vis Vietnam, the PLA relied on human waves of ragtag soldiers, a tactic used nearly 3 decades before in the Korean War, and a scorched earth policy to conquer Vietnam. These tactics enabled Chinese soldiers to completely destroy everything in their path, overrun population centers, and occupy strategically mountainous areas and high spots along the border. These areas then became sites of low-profile yet deadly conflicts, which took place throughout the following decade. Yeah, that happened when I was 10. Well, yeah, I was just turning 9 at that point, 79.
Well, that's the real reason, right?
It totally is.
I mean, obviously, follow the money.
Yeah, follow that money. Oh, you mean Ivanka's money, Trump ties being made there, Trump hats.
Less of a policy question, Congressman, and more of a defense question. We can shoot a missile.
Can you say something like really fucking macho, bro?
Thousands of miles away and hit an area the size of my hand. But you're telling me that we can't find Chinese police setting up shop in our country?
Yeah, A, you don't use missiles to do that. And if you were able to do detective work with that level of precision, A, you'd need, I suppose, some sort of AI targeting thing with a large tracking mirror from space. Project Crossbow. This is just stupid. You can tell me that we have like laser-guided missiles and GPS, and we can't find a murderer who killed someone in the mid-70s? All right.
I understand that it's secret, but come on. We should be able to find these people.
Well, it's either one or two issues. It's either this government doesn't care, or they're just they're complicit in the problem.
Or they're looking for them actively, just like they just fucking said. Because if they didn't care or they were complicit, then certainly in a period when Trump was in office where they didn't seem to give a shit, these guys were here.
And I will tell you, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas, I've called him to resign multiple times. I've met with him. He's been
because as a border state congressperson, I have my concerns.
A complete failure. He needs to be impeached. What was going on the southern border for the last 2 years is an atrocity. 100,000 of our citizens have died from fentanyl coming across the southern border.
No. Also, largely during the Trump era. Like literally the 100,000, the first time we reached 100,000 in 1 year was April to April 2020 into 21. Biden was sworn in January. His policies, even as they were put in place nearly immediately, wouldn't change the trajectory of drugs that had already entered the country. And Trump, after he lost the election, had all but given up on actual governance. He had 2 jobs, trying to get the election overturned and pardoning his asshole friends.
And now we're finding one more issue that he's allowed. Somebody's supposed to be protecting our homeland since 9/11. And he's doing a miserable job. And he's been around this administration since 2005 under President Obama. So, this.
Yeah, but he wasn't in charge of this shit.
This guy knows what's going on. He's just incompetent and needs to go.
Well, I mean.
Well, and look at this kind of like self-satisfied smile on this guy's fucking face.
Maybe, as a viewer just texted me, maybe.
A viewer just texted you. Would that viewer be Donald John Trump?
The FBI should be raiding the Chinese Communist Party's police stations rather than raiding President Trump's home.
Yeah, that viewer is Donald Trump. Yeah, that's exactly it. Audience of one.
How about taking politics out of the FBI? I spoke to Republican House Leader Kevin McCarthy yesterday, and he was talking about all the lies around Russia, and that's one of the reasons he is vowing to remove Adam Schiff from the House Intelligence Committee, one of 3 Democrats from congressional committees he's about to take out. Watch what he said.
You have Adam Schiff, who had lied to the American public time and again. We will not allow him to be on the Intel Committee either. And you look, Congresswoman Omar, her anti-Semitic comments that have gone forward. We're not going to allow her to be on foreign affairs. But
You could always cite one of his lies if you're going to kick Schiff off for lying, and it's that egregious. I would just quote him. Which one?
We're also going to stand up to what's happening, not just in the halls in Congress, but what's happening into our higher education institutions, the anti-Semitism that's going on these campuses and others.
Well, I mean, obviously, you're saying they should cancel the Kanye show?
Congressman, your thoughts?
Well, a lot of things to unpack there. Again, going back to China, but you look at what Swalwell and Schiff and Omar have done, and the Democrat Party's been complicit in allowing them to, do these things and not hold them accountable.
Do what things and hold them accountable? How? These are just. I have to say, there's politispeak, and then there's this. He's just picking sentences out, these are the kind of things that are bad for America. We want to do things that are good for America because what's been going on, am I right? It's just, this is something that can't be allowed. And we're not going to be the ones that will allow it to not be what it's doing. Okay, is time up?
And, they talk about a couple of tweets of our members and did something unprecedented. Speaker Pelosi pulled them off committees. And these folks have done something.
Couple of tweets? Just a couple of tweets? What were those tweets? Quote those things. This guy is like, he's like, remember anybody ever eat generic food when it first came out where it was just like white can, word beans on it and a stripe? That's this guy. Just like politician. It's like he needs to wear a white suit with a stripe at the top and a stripe at his ankles that just says politician across it.
Egregious to our national security. There shouldn't be any concern from the Democrats or anyone else about our future speaker.
By the way, when was she on The Voice?
You're taking them off committees. But when you talk about China, I'd like to expound a little bit more.
Please, I expound at all.
When you look at they're buying our farmlands, they're buying lands around our military bases, what they're doing with our food.
Okay, the land that they're quote unquote buying around our military bases is Chinese people linked to the Chinese government, which is always, an issue, but buying like stores nearby. And the idea is like, oh my God, they're going to coat the Fruit Loops with some sort of COVID disease thing. And people are going to pick up their breakfast cereal and then they're going to take it to the base and everybody's going to get rhinorrhea. And, and the farmland part, it's actually the food processing plants that they have a stake in that's more crucial.
Food processors and taking over our supply chain on our food inside of our country. What they're doing on our higher education campuses with these Confucius institutes and trying to radicalize and institutionalize some of our American citizens. And
yeah, it's less about that. It's basically them just following Chinese students while they're here, trying to get them, if they start speaking out, there's always somebody nearby to go, your mom's sitting in her apartment right now. It'd be a shame if anybody was to push her out a window.
Finally, what you look at the impact on our supply chain and our economy. One could argue that, they're threatening our friends militarily, but at the same time, they're holding our economy hostage with their supply chain issues.
Yes, because if we don't have plastic shit made with third generation substandard chips on the regular, that's going to destroy our economy.
I think the American people are tired of this, and that's why you're seeing a change as well from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party.
Yeah, that's not happening at all. As a matter of fact, if that was true, you guys would have taken the House and the Senate, and you fucking well didn't. The only reason Republicans took the control of the House this time around was redistricting. Without that redistricting, there's no way it would have fucking happened. It wasn't ideological, and it won't hold. Trust me on this.
Yeah, meanwhile, you've got the DOJ attacking soccer moms and the DOJ coming after Trump supporters. Christopher Wray would not eat.
First of all, coming after soccer moms, I think she means like treating parents as terrorists and whatever just because they're parents. No, it's because they threatened to blow up the vice principal's house.
Even answer the question on whether or not the FBI had confidential human sources dressed up as Trump supporters at the January 6th Capitol.
Hi, fuckhead. Listen, they didn't have confidential sources dressed up as Trump supporters. They had Trump supporters, real live Trump supporters, who were okay with marching, okay with shouting, okay with rattling some, bike racks, but we're not okay with the storming the place and beating up cops and all that other shit. And they phoned it in. They're like, yeah, this is fucked up. My buddy's losing his shit. He's gone a bit Q to the right of me. And that's not getting people to dress up and pretend to be somebody they aren't. That's somebody who is that way, but isn't that far down the fucking road, who's gone, yeah, I got to keep you guys posted, because if a shot, because they might actually think this hurts their movement if somebody pops off or leads some, a small group in some major violence. So they're cool about turning them in because they're doing it to help their own side in their mind. These weren't people like playing masquerade. This wasn't charades. These folks were legit Trump supporters. But the other reason you don't say, yes, we have them, is because you'll get them killed. Not that Maria gives a fuck.
Breach. That was incredible as well.
Oh my God, it was incredible.
Congressman, we're going to be following all of this, and we so appreciate your leadership. Kevin Hern, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
How fucking boring. Jesus Christ. Okay, sorry. You're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe,